Hey everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships with Newbicon. Today I thought we'd have a look at the Tier 6 premium ship, the Molotov. And so, to start off with, what you guys want to know is this ship worth getting? And the answer to that is simple. If you like the Kirov at Tier 5, then this Tier 6 premium is a ship that you'll really enjoy. Because quite simply, this is the Kirov, except that she has better guns and a little bit better armor and a little bit more HP, and everything that comes from her jumping up to a tier 6 cruiser. As you can see, the trajectories on these guns is very flat, and that comes from the fact that these guns are also very similar to the Dmitry Donskoy's guns at tier 9. That's tier 9 guns on a tier 6 ship. And as you can see, for long range shots, that makes hitting a target very easily indeed. Now, along with the Kirov, she does have some pretty big drawbacks. She has very little armor, which means you can be citadeled from even some acute angles, making her a bit of a glass cannon of a ship. And the turning radius on this ship, while it's reasonably good, and the actual speed of the rudder shift is actually quite good, the ship takes a fair bit of time to start answering that turn, or answering the rudder as they call it, and it takes a while for this ship to actually start turning into its turning circle, and when it does, it's not a quick turning ship. And so in those close range areas, she really doesn't want it. You don't want to get close with this ship in any kind of narrow gaps or in between islands, because she just can't outmaneuver the smaller ships that'll be in there, like the destroyers and the smaller cruisers that can do it with the faster turning guns. But that doesn't mean that she can't get close. It's not a good idea. The best place for this ship is at longer ranges, where she can hit her targets at 15.5 kilometers plus. As you can see right there, I got hit hard by the Molotov with its 180mm guns. And boy did it hurt. It must have hit me. It must have done 3 citadels worth of damage on me. Now here you can see the strength of the high explosive that comes out of these 180mm guns. That's 6 hits, 1 fire, 4,000 damage on a battleship. That's pretty average of what you'll get with that many hits on a battleship. What you'll see later on is not only does this ship have some good high explosive, but she also does well with her armor piercing at longer ranges as well. And that's because these are basically the guns that come at tier 9 on the Dmitry Donskoy as well. So we get some good shots in here with armor piercing on this battleship. So you do about 3,500 damage average with 5 hits, and that's spalling damage. But that's still 3,500 damage you can do every couple of seconds to a battleship, which mounts up over time. But what you really want to do is fire high explosive at battleships with these guns. They have such a high chance of setting fires, you'll burn the ship down far quicker with high explosive than you could with your armor piercing ammunition. Now don't forget, this ship also comes with torpedoes. Now these torpedoes have a range of only 4 kilometers, but they do run at 62 knots. So they're good for if you're coming around the side of an island and there's a ship trying to sneak around at you. You just put them in the water just before it gets there and catch them out that way. Basically like what you do with the US destroyers. But really, these torpedoes have such a short range that they're mostly for basically self-defense purposes. Ships that get far too close for your liking, and you just want to, well, surprise them with some really hard-hitting torpedoes. But other than that, the torpedoes aren't really much use anywhere else for this ship. This ship is mostly about its guns. Now the Molotov in real life was part of the Project 26 cruisers, the same as the Kirov, only she was one of the 2 pairs that became the second variant or the first variant of the ship class. These Project 26 BIS cruisers were much heavier than the original Project 26 cruisers. These were 8,177 tons instead of 7,500 tons, and in trials these ships were able to reach 36 knots because their turbines were just far more powerful. Molotov was actually the first ever Russian cruiser to be fitted with a radar. She was commissioned just before the German invasion in 1941, and in the beginning was moved from port to port so that they could take advantage of her air radar system. Throughout World War II, she was used to bombard enemy positions and provide support to places such as the garrison of Sevastopol. She also ran a number of sorties in support of Soviet troops on the Kerch Peninsula. During a storm on the 21st and 22nd of January 1942, she was thrown up against the jetty and had her bow damaged severely, which reduced her speed by several knots. This unfortunately could not be repaired straight away and had to wait till much later before it could be fixed. However, this wasn't the worst damage she suffered. On the 2nd of August, her entire stern was blown off by a torpedo launched from a torpedo bomber. And this meant that she was under repair until the 31st of July 1943. And it was only with parts taken from the incomplete Chapayev class cruiser the Franz, the rudder of the incomplete cruiser Zeleznikov, the steering gear from the Kagnovich, and the steering sensor from the submarine L-25 that these repairs were able to be completed. And after these repairs, Stalin ordered that she would no longer see any more combat. But she did earn the distinction of being one of the cruisers that successfully launched a Supermarine Spitfire off one of her catapults also in 1943. Now, she survived the war, and on the 3rd of August 1957, she was renamed the Slava, after having extensive modernization done on her at the same time as her sister ship, the Kirov, had. She was reclassified as a training cruiser on the 3rd of August 1961 and deployed to the Mediterranean during the 5th and the 30th of June 1967 to show Soviet support for Syria during the Six-Day War. Later, also in the Mediterranean, she had provided support for the Kotlan-class destroyer the Bravyi after it had its collision with the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal on the 9th of November 1970. And then, on the 4th of April 1972, she was finally decommissioned and sold for scrap. Now, since my game has now come to a very quick and unauspicious ending for my first game in this ship, let's take a look at the post-game battle results. And as you can see, unfortunately, that game was a defeat. But it wasn't a bad defeat. I did reasonably well out of it. But really, if you go back and have a look at this video again, you can see why we lost. All the ships on my side decided to tuck tail and run off to the other side of the map instead of coming up with me and taking care of those cruisers. We come first on our team even though we died halfway through the game. This game actually went for the full 20 minutes. But I only lasted 8 of them, which is hilarious. I did 66,000 damage, 739 damage, and yeah, did reasonably well in my first game ever. Got a pretty good result. Can't complain too much. So yeah, I'm finding that this ship is an enjoyable ship. She's very situational in the way you should play her. But, you know, like I said before, if you enjoyed the Kirov, you're going to enjoy this ship. So anyway guys, leave your opinion in the comment section on what you think of this ship and what you think of the Kirov, what you think of any ship in the game, really. Just leave us a comment and give this video a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because that really helps us out, and I'll catch you all next time.